Jay Clark, Dirt Bike TV, we're talking brakes. You gotta have them. It's very important for your dirt bike, whether you're riding moto or trail. You wanna keep fresh fluid in your brakes. It gets commonly overlooked because guys are scared. It's not that tough a job. We like to change them, depending upon the bike, at least twice a year, 6 months. Also on this bike, we're gonna change out the rear brake pads. I'll give you some tips on that as well. This is called Vacula. Very cool tool, and if you don't have this exact tool, it's not a big deal. They have some on Amazon now for $80 range. Really good pneumatic bleeders. I would suggest if you're riding dirt bikes to invest in one of these. So first thing, we like to use a high temp brake fluid. You don't have to buy the high dollar fancy stuff in a little tiny bottle that's $20 or $30. You can get it from the auto parts store, get some good stuff. I like to get the stuff in the metal can. It lasts really well, and then we'll transfer it into a little bottle that's convenient for filling up these small areas on a dirt bike. Now we're opening up our brake cap. A little tap like that will make it easier to remove. Yamaha keeps a little floating piece here. Not totally sure why, but we keep it back in there. I'm gonna push on the caliper and push fluid back up to the top right now so that it will be less fluid for us to have to flush. Suck out this nasty looking fluid. So now we're gonna put some fluid in here. See, some people might wonder, hey, aren't you gonna get some air in the system? But no, not if you don't touch the lever. So now we're pumping that brake back up and pushing a little fluid down. Now we're gonna start our process. We get many comments on how we do this. People wonder about reverse bleeding. We've tried everything. This is the absolute best way we found. We can do a brand new line in no time with this system right here. So you need two guys. I have Cody up top. He's gonna be pushing fluid down here. We'll catch that, and I'll be down on the bottom observing this process down here. I'm gonna position our wrench so that it's at the full closed position right here. I'm gonna set up our vacula like this. I'm gonna crack this. We're not gonna touch the lever up top at all. I'm gonna pull this and start pulling fluid out. And Cody will be up top filling as we go. Okay, now Cody's gonna pump the brake up top. Hold. Go.
Hold.
Go.
Hold.
Go.
Hold.
Go.
Hold.
Go.
Hold.
Go. Okay, we're gonna hold up right there. Hold up. Hold up. What's our fluid level at?
At the line.
At the line?
Yep.
Okay, hold it.
Holding.
Go.
Hold.
Should be done down here. Now, this is the key to the rest of our process is right now. When I say I move the caliper, what I do is I have my hands, and it can be sharp, so sometimes I'll use gloves or a rag, and I'm pushing like this with my hands against the caliper, and that's what's pushing fluid back up to our guy here. That's how we're gonna finish this process. Basically, I'm pushing fluid up. I'm trying to get to reverse bleed now with air going up. Cody's gonna pump the brake just a few times, just till it gets firm. We don't want to force too many bubbles down. Now, at this point, now here's the trick, is I'm gonna tap this line like this. I'm gonna tap this and tap this and tap this. This is forcing bubbles back up the line. And I'm gonna push this again. Let's go see if we can see any bubbles at the top. Bubbles. So we like to get 3 times with 0 bubbles. So now Cody, go ahead. So I'm gonna tap again, trying to get all the bubbles to go up, and I'm gonna push it. Here we go. Bubbles. Got bubbles.
My bubbles.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. We got bubbles again. This brake's gonna feel amazing when we get all these out of here. One, 2, 3. Bubbles. No bubbles. So that's our first one with no bubbles. So we like to have 3 of these with 0 bubbles. I don't want to cut any corners. Sometimes we'll get 2, and then that third one will have a bubble. All it takes is 1 bubble. So our rule is 3 with no bubbles. 2, 3.
My bubbles.
We got bubbles. So we only had one with no bubbles. We got to start our count over. 1, 2, 3. Bubbles. Oh, man. 3. No bubbles. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 2. No bubbles. No bubbles. That's 3. Okay, so that's a pretty cool feeling. I actually worked up a tiny bit of sweat doing that. Took like 3 or 4 minutes of that part of it, but forcing that fluid back up just works really well. We've had really good luck with that way after we have got, say 90% of the bleeding done down low. We just filled up our fluid level to where it needs to be, and we can put our cap back on. And drop in our little styrofoam piece, and we're gonna put in our little rubber piece right there. And we're gonna drop our cover on. Got a little excess coming out, no problem. The thing I like to do is put a tiny bit of grease on these parts right there, and then on the threads of the screws, just like that. So you see I'm using the Tusk screwdriver. This is a JIS screwdriver, Japanese Industrial Standard. We're gonna screw that on just like that. And you just get them good and snug. And this screwdriver fits those perfectly. The Tusk one, you can go to our links to check that out. I'm gonna wipe off our excess. Got a little brake cleaner on my rag. I'm gonna come through here, and this is a show bike that's gonna get shot here soon. Vacula, or any type of pneumatic bleeder helps a ton. So make sure you have a good pneumatic bleeder. If you're gonna be riding dirt bikes for a long time, you're gonna wanna keep up on those brakes, and this thing feels amazing like this. I'm gonna give you one last tip to let this thing ensure that it's perfect. Okay, so right here I have this little tool, Tech 167 on the Instagram makes this little cool 3D printed one. You don't have to use a tool like this. You can just zip tie it, but this is a pretty nice, cool thing to have. You just have them hanging in the shop. This is putting pressure on that brake line, on this brake right here. Any residual bubbles will seep up through here and come out overnight. So usually we do it for like that day or so. Just let it sit after we've done it. Come back, pull this off, and feels like $1 million. So we already opened up the cap here. I'd like to have that off. I took off the little rubber piece just so it's out of our way. And then here we're gonna just work our screwdriver in here and pry apart the pads. That's gonna push fluid back up into here. And we're actually gonna suck this fluid out of here with our Vacula tool, so it saves us less fluid to have to flush through. A little bit of grease, just like that, so it's all ready to reinstall. So I like to fill this back up with fluid immediately so we don't accidentally hit that brake pedal and add any air into the line. So we've got an Allen wrench or a hex, and we use this grip edge. It makes these really cool bits that really are pretty good about not rounding off, so I really like to use these. And we can pull our pads out. So this brake pin has a bit of corrosion on there, so I want to clean this off. You could do a wire wheel or just some Scotch-Brite and get it nice and smooth. And again, on this piece, I would put a tiny bit of grease as well and just get it on those threads so it doesn't ever get stuck up in there. So we like to use an OEM style pad like the Galfer or Pro X. So we like to make sure you can see how much thicker the pad is. That's going to make less heat. Also, with most aftermarket pads, they don't give you these right here. These are OEM insulators that come on the OEM pads. I like to rerun these if we can. So these insulators will go right back on here like this. And then I can bend these tabs down a little bit. Ready for install. Real thin coat of grease on here so it slips in easy. So So I could feel them get right into their home, just like that. So now that I'm fully seated, I can tighten this up just like this. And this isn't something that has to be really tight. It's just gonna be snug, just like that. Now we can put in our little, this would be like a mud dust cover, I would call it. And this doesn't need to be very tight either, because these, when they get stuck, which they can do, it becomes a big hassle. So just good and snug. If this is ever stuck, you heat this up a little bit, and that'll help you get this out. We're assistant here, Cody's pushing on this, and we're pushing our fluid back in. Now we can add some fluid into our master and start bleeding this thing. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna hit this. Our compressor will probably kick on, you get some noise. So now that we have it roughed out, now we'll do a little bit of old school bleeding, I call it. Cody's gonna pump up the brake with his hand. He's gonna pump, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold.
Hold.
And then I go, and I say, go. Hold. Go.
Hold.
Go. And my wife does this very well too. She doesn't really like to. She prefers Cody to. Hold. Go. Now we're gonna check our level, how far we got. So when you can hear, you can see our level is right at the line. So we're gonna clean off some of this old fluid and then blow it off with air, and we'll reinstall this. Drop this back on and see, I'm gonna hold it down with my fingers while I get them started. Now these don't take much pressure at all to tighten up. Just good and snug. So you wanna make sure you still have plenty of play, which we do right here. All right, so that's a wrap. It's really important to keep up on those brakes, so do a good job. If you have any questions, remember to email us questions. I'm glad to help out with any type of tech questions you have. And also remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. Okay, this is where you need brakes, right here. I got a guy coming who's using a whole lot less of them than me.